What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm here with my good friend Brendan O'Rourke from True North Wealth, and he actually is a friend of mine because I say that every time. So, Brendan, what's up, brother? Welcome.
What's up, man?
I mean, I do literally say like my good friend, and most of the time I don't even know these people like at all. But Brendan is actually a good friend of mine. He lives up the street. He's a friend of mine, both personally. We run in the same circles, and we'll get more into that in a little bit. But you're also a fresh, baby-faced entrepreneur. You're like right out there. Like how long? I mean, this is very recent, right?
Very recent, yeah. Started my own company in May. So what is that, 3-4 months?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good episode.
It's
good
been
episode
fun.
for any of you guys.
It's been fun. My first thing was like, wow, like I'm doing all this work, right? And it doesn't feel like it for the first time.
This is before you started, or is this now?
This was like when I was starting it, it was exciting.
Okay.
It's fresh, right? I'm like getting a website, doing all these different things, right? And it's like, all right, this is a lot of work, but it doesn't feel like a task that I've been assigned by a boss.
Right.
You know?
Because you're building something.
Because I'm building something. And it's exciting. And it's fun.
And it's been, 4 months, something like that?
4 months. So I'm in that sweet spot where it's like I still have some time, too. You know, like I'm building, but I don't have an existing, business that's on top of growing and all of those different things. It's just growth for the most part and servicing, a small book of clients that I currently have.
Yeah, you're right. It's usually the most, the least overhead. It's a good time. It depends on what you're doing because a lot of people would say, like, starting a business. I saw somebody the other day in our Blue Collar Ballers group. He was like, hey, I'm looking to start a business. I think he was like a linesman or something. He's like, I want to make sure my family's taken care of and I want to make money and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was like, you're starting a business for, like, extra cash flow. You need to really better understand what you do because you might not make anything for the first couple of years, you know, and that's a good point. Not every business is like that. There are certain businesses you can get into where you can make money quickly, but it's then going from that, like, one-man army or 3 or 4 man army where you're, running that way, trying to grow from that, then it kind of gets real. So it just depends. I think the fact of what we do, unfortunately, with the insurance roofing, there's so many guys that, like, I've fired or were just not core value fits that just go take the test because the barrier for entry is so low, like we were just talking about.
Yeah.
And they need a truck and a ladder and a license. And in some states, they don't even need that license. And then they're just like, I'm going to go climb this person's roof, see if there's damage, maybe if there's none there. Those kinds of guys got fired for a reason. They might even create it themselves, which, again, is just the worst thing ever and makes our jobs way harder doing things the right way. Mm-hmm. But, like, that's what's out there for us. Is there anything like that? Well, first of all, we got to talk about what you do. What's the business?
Yeah, so wealth management, financial planning. So I'm a comprehensive wealth manager. I'm a certified financial planner, which is a designation, right, kind of beyond just the general securities licenses that you need to do business. Requires like 200 hours of studying. There's all these different areas that you study, all the way from general investing to estate planning, taxation, on and on and on. So there's a lot of different things that I get into, right? But everything that I do is planning focused and planning centered, right? So, like, people will come up to me and they might ask me, hey, Brendan, what should I do with X, Y, and Z? What should I do to make money, right? And that's, for me as a planner, that's a really difficult, it's a question that I really won't answer without first meeting with them, understanding their goals, what they want to do, right? Where they are currently, and then how to get there from, like, what's the most efficient way to get there, right? It's not just like a back of the envelope, like, these are the 8 things that you need to do to get rich.
Right. Yeah, just get a 401k, put 5% in. I get it. You really need to tailor it, especially because some of your clients could be, I would imagine, in way different circumstances than others, right? Some might be blue-collar folks that have saved up their whole lives and need your help to get towards retirement, and then some might be 100+ millionaires that are looking to make sure that they're set generationally.
Yeah. Some people even need help spending money, right? Like, it becomes very emotionally driven. It's almost like you're, halfway a therapist. And it's either you're doing a great job. It might be people who are just holding on to it, right? Big time savers, can't quite let it go, can't quite like bring themselves to spend the money that they've worked their entire lives to save, right? And just trying to bring them through that process and have a good time with it too.
It makes sense. I mean, somebody who only ever is taught like just, and it's like everything we read now is the complete antithesis. Like, dude, saving that, the value of the dollar, you know, your money just sitting there is quite literally like, that's something I've learned even just recently, you know, that like it doesn't do anything for you.
Yeah. You gotta find a balance.
Well, and we'll get more into the specifics and we'll pick your brain and make sure we pour all the value into the listeners today. But I want to talk about, first of all, like how you got here, because you just started. So I think there's a couple things that, you know, Brendan could really bring to the kitchen table. I was going to say to the table. Well, whatever. I mean, pun intended. Here's a couple things Brendan can bring to the table today. But one, you know, we know each other really well, and Brendan's got a really interesting story. And like myself, and he's already told me he's comfortable talking about this. I mean, he's been through the ringer. You know what I mean? He didn't just the clean-cut young man, family man that you see before you currently was not always the case. So these two guys in ties, I mean, one of us is a felon. I don't know if he is or not, but you know,
Not convicted.
You know, not convicted, right?
Yet.
Two degenerates, you know, ripping and running, doing all kinds of craziness, you know, and sitting up here with these suits and ties and so on. It's just he has a background that I think might surprise you. So I'd love to talk and touch on that a little bit, like how you got just a little bit. You know, you don't have to go into anything too crazy, but going from where you came from to getting into the industry and ultimately deciding like I can do this for myself and what that leap was like. But first and foremost, take us through your story a little bit about kind of, you know, where you were into getting in the industry at all.
Yeah. So I got in the industry based off of a LinkedIn message after I graduated college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Somebody said, hey,
sounds about right. Come
in for an interview, and it was one of those kind of big insurance companies. And I talked to them, and they told me that 10% of people don't make it through their first 5 years in the industry. From that point, I was like, oh, I'm in, right? Because I'm still drinking at this point, right? My ego's running wild, right? And I want to prove to the world that I'm enough.
Yeah, I'm going to be in that 10%.
Yeah. And it was a lot harder than I thought. I mean, I was making 200 cold calls a day and buying my own leads and my own lists and things like that. And like money, when it comes to financial advisors especially, like they're not just buying whatever product you might be putting in front of them, but they're buying you too. Like they want to know that they can trust you and whatnot. And I was not in a healthy place. So while this is all going on, I'm like hitting my bottom at the same time. End up going to Baltimore City Central Booking for a few days. And
lovely place.
Kind of had a awakening there, you could say. And that's when I started.
Sure.
That's when I started taking sobriety seriously for the first time. And so, like, as I'm going through sobriety and the steps, I'm getting happy again, and all of these great things are happening in my life. I'm also starting to realize what else is out there in the financial planning world, right? Because it's like a big world. Saying financial advisor is like a very general
right. It is
topic. Like, you could be into insurance, you could be annuity focused, you could be this, you could be that, right? And so I was just kind of like working my way through it. I was at Morgan Stanley for a few years. I was at Charles Schwab for a few years. Most recently, I was at a small business for a few years, right? And just kind of like getting a good feel for all these different aspects of financial planning so that I could be as well-rounded as possible. The whole time I wanted to become my own boss, and didn't really have the confidence to do that until like, you know, part of it is being around guys like you, right? Like the guys that we hang out with, there's a lot of like business owners, and it's like, okay, these guys can do it.
Maybe I'm sure you meet a guy like me, like this idiot can do it. I can definitely do it.
And it's one thing for me to enter into something, right, by myself, and that's scary, right? But when I go into it after like a lot of prayer and a lot of meditation and thinking about these things and thinking of it like in terms of purpose and mission and where does God want me to be, then I can go into it with confidence because I know that it's a journey, it's an adventure. Either way, I'm going to end up in a good spot, right? It's either going to be a great lesson or it's going to be exactly where I'm supposed to be.
That was a really good point. I hope you guys, and obviously we're 12-step focused, right? So he mentioned a few things that didn't need to elaborate on, because if you've heard my story, but we belong to the same secret society, and it saved both of our lives. But
Yes.
it's very centered around the topic of a higher power. So like it's everything, really.
It is everything.
But I mean, I love that thought that like if you put faith in that and you just lead with prayer. 'Cause I've been struggling with that recently, man. I think we have these ebbs and flows, and recently I've been trying to dive more back into just kind of the basics, working with new guys, going to more meetings. We've been going to the meeting on Sunday, going there purposely just to try to find, new people and help them selfishly in a sense to like help ourselves. You know what I mean? It's a great program because it's like, yeah, we're going to help people, but in doing so, we're doing that because that's the ticket to helping ourselves. Right. You know what I mean? So like, but I say all that to, I get abruptly reminded often where it's like, well, the book talks about it, and not to get too off task because not everybody on this is going to even know what the hell we're talking about. But in our 12-step group, it talks about that what we have is a daily reprieve predicated on, the regular maintenance of our spiritual condition, which is prayer and making sure that you're spiritually fit daily. So whenever I'm all out of sorts, it's a good indication my spiritual condition is pretty shitty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a sponsor when I first got my stuff together, and we're all over the place, dude. Like our emotions all over the place. I'm in a halfway house with a bunch of other dudes, which I didn't care because I was homeless before that. But like somebody eats my cheese I got with my food stamps, and it's like I'm ready to fight. You know what I mean? Call my sponsor about like that, and then I'm like conflicted on whether I should even be calling this guy about the cheese. That's got me upset because I'm like, do I call him about this? But I'm really upset, so I think I should be calling him, but I think this is weird to call him. And he would always just ask the same thing. He would just say, how's your spiritual condition? I would get pissed every time, but every time I'm like, probably not pretty good. So I don't know. I said all that because it was something good for me to hear, that going through whatever you're going through, business, taking a new journey, jumping into something, like going into business for yourself, if you do it with faith and prayer, then whatever the outcome is what it was supposed to be. And I had that exact same mentality when I was facing 15 years. I was locked up. That's one of the best examples I have of that. Mm-hmm. I was facing 15 years. It was right before my sentencing. I had no plea, no nothing. Just go see the judge, see what happens.
Yep.
So
that's
I was
a freedom, yeah.
praying in my cell before I left, and I was freaking good, dude.
Yeah.
That's the best. That is one of the most powerful examples I personally have of something like that, where I was like, dude, either I'm supposed to go to prison and maybe help somebody or do something, but if that's where he's taking me, and if I have faith, that's real faith, then I'm good with whatever the outcome is. And in this case, same thing. And I don't know, I'm harping on that because I needed to hear that, actually. To be honest, I needed to hear that. This has not been an easy year. Starting a business is fun and it's getting going, and I'm not minimizing anything, but then you get in, the stakes continue to get higher, the money continues to get, longer, and the consequences more severe, and other people now are affected by your decisions and moves, and it's like, the year we've had, not just, when I say we, by the way, like we'll end up. Like I've got a big, we, I think, have really high standards. It's funny. 'Cause we didn't have very high standards back when we were ripping and running.
No, we didn't.
But we get a little sober, and all of a sudden, anything less than perfect is unacceptable. Yeah. So, I'm telling you, man. You know what I mean? That's how we are, dude. That's how we are. Like we're like shooting way past the moon. We're like Pluto. You know what I mean? The moon's unacceptable. Mm-hmm. So, but
wretched excess.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. It's just that's how we are. So, having said that, I keep making these pieces where I'm like, it's been hard. Like that's because we had our sights set on Pluto. And it ain't a Pluto year, man. We got enough gas to get to the moon. You know what I mean? And I should be happy to get to the moon.
You should be.
But, and I am. I'm blessed. But hearing things and talking to guys like yourself and having this and talking about it, puts it into perspective, man. Honestly, we're meeting tomorrow. Like, I feel, if nothing else, I got something out of this today, Brendan. So thank you so much. All right,
I'm
so
glad.
you guys will wrap it up. I'm
Yeah,
just
see
kidding.
you
No,
later.
that was great, man. I that's exactly how if you have faith and you pray on it, who cares? Right. And even if you don't, like, you're listening to this, like, oh, it's, dude, you got to understand, we come from a place where it's like, okay, I got to do what? I don't care what it is. Tell me to stand on my head in a pink tutu, and I don't have to, like, rob people or hate myself and wish my existence just, wasn't such a curse. You know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty low place, so I would have done whatever. If it means I got to pray and find a reprieve in a higher power, dude, okay, cool, wonderful. Yeah. So we're not trying to be all preachy to you. Just saying.
But you're right. Like, the more people that are affected by it, right, the right thing to do is harder to figure out. It's harder to find.
Yes.
I've found. So I have to sit with it longer. And I have to really, like, kind of test it. Right? Because I've, a 1 and a 3-year-old and a wife, and I'm like, all right, y'all, I'm gonna go do this thing. Wish me luck.
Right. Hope it works out.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was good. I mean, my wife honestly was probably more confident from the start than I was.
Yeah.
Right? And that gave me the confidence to step out into it.
Hell yeah. So she was like, yeah, I think you should do that.
She was like, do it, yeah. She's like, you don't know how to fail. It's like, I sure do. You just might not know it, but yeah. I can find a way. And I mean, that's the honest truth, but it's been an amazing experience so far. It's brought us close together as a family. I'm able to have a little bit more flexibility, right? Helping out with the kids and whatnot, and being around when she really needs me to be around. Depending on how this thing goes, that might not always be the case, but it's just been a real blessing. So,
what's your goal? Is it to put your, to like brick and mortar and several folks, or is this something where you're like, I want that freedom and just to kind of be home more? And
yeah, I've been wrestling with that. I mean,
based on what we just said, I've got my guess, but
first goal is to, like, let's get off the ground and running, right? And it's going pretty well so far. Knock on wood. It's going better than I'd expected, really. And then I think the next decision will be, like, is it just me? Is it a quote-unquote lifestyle business where I have some support and whatnot? Or do I grow this into a business, something that's greater than myself, right? And I'm going to have some time before I really need to make that decision. But that's, something I'm kind of
wrestling with.
Yeah, because I can see, like, where if it continues on this path, like, where it's going, right? And it's early. It's really early. So, like, I'm cautious even saying these things. But if I continue on the path and everything continues to go pretty well, then I could see having to make a decision like that 3 to 5 years, maybe, Like, it's not that soon.
Yeah. I think it'd be sooner than 3 to 5 years.
Maybe so.
I would bet. I would bet. Just knowing, but I get it. I get it. But just knowing how we are and how you are, the success determines that. And ultimately, the cool thing is you can just do whatever the hell you want. If it's like, if what you do is feasible, then that's awesome. You know what I mean? I don't understand it, I guess, enough to, like, know the nuances and, like, what the next move would be, whether it be to get a couple other folks selling under you or and how that would even impact you. Maybe you still, like, I don't need an office to do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, man, I mean, honestly, dude, doing this year is, I think that anything from here on out is going to be really easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I don't know what's your market, but the market period is like, we're playing games here, pretending like it's anything. I've been trying to reel myself back in lately and not be all weird and not weird, but, like, so overly, like, obsessed on what's going on, like the current political or socioeconomic, but, like, it directly impacts everybody, first of all, but also, like, this business and all the businesses. I mean, I'm in all these business groups. I've got a coaching group. I've got a consulting company. I pay to be in all these other groups. Everyone is feeling it. And so it's just like, got to be a reprieve coming. And then you see, what's his face? big baller, takes out $1 billion damn near from Bank of America.
Yeah.
Buffett.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool. What's that all about?
Yeah. So like, you got to understand the context of it too, though. So Buffett did that like earlier in the year, and then the report just comes out. So every time that we get the report of it, the news is like Buffett just pulled all his money out, and the market's going down, and all this stuff is happening, right? Like the sky isn't falling. So the question, I think, the biggest question with the market right now.
Yeah, let's talk finances since we got a financial guy. Let's talk about that. Help us feel a little bit better.
That's fine. So
you can, unless you're going to tell me it's some really terrible news.
Biggest question with the market is the Federal Reserve, and what is the Federal Reserve going to do, right? We're pretty sure that they're going to reduce rates by 25 basis points at their next meeting mid-September, middle of this month, right? So
you think they're actually going to do that?
I think they'll actually do that. The question is that enough to appease the market, like to make the market happy? And I don't know if it is. If they were to go 50 and cut them even more, market would be super happy, right? Because right now it's pricing in 25. Beyond that, I have no idea exactly what's going to happen in the market. I have no clue. And, you know, this thing could go on for a couple more years.
This thing, what, inflation, just everything we're experiencing.
Well, the market itself has been pretty good. The economy has shown signs of weakness, right, with all the inflation and whatnot. Hopefully, the Fed reducing interest rates helps to ease some of that inflation.
Yeah, because what he's referring to is like the stock market, you know what I mean? Which is always so perplexing to me because, you know, people look me in the face and like, whoa, the stock market's good. And I'm like, do you not believe your own eyes and circumstance and what pocketbook? Like, okay, cool. And then I do a little bit more research into that, and I'm by no means Brendan, but I'm like, all right, well, from what I'm learning, you know, okay, the stock market looks good, but it's also propped up by like these 4 or 5 massive tech companies that are like super overinflated like an Apple, and it's just like, but everything else is down, and then that tweaks and goes up. It's just, it can so easily be misleading, right? That if your basis for like what's happening in this country or is everything good, is the stock market, then you at least need to know what you're looking at, because it's like, well, if majority of the S&P or what we typically see as like, is the stock market good or bad? And if I say something really stupid, just correct me, because I'm just learning this on the YouTube myself. So what I've read recently is that the S&P is mostly like those main companies, right? Apple, these big tech giants, and they're like, for some reason, super fucking overinflated or overworth.
They have a large market cap.
Yeah, they have a
percentage.
And so everybody else is just kind of there, and they might be doing poorly. But as long as these main contributors and pieces, it looks like the market's good. Mm-hmm. But then why is it that we can't afford groceries, or we can't afford the cost of living, or, you know what I mean? Like wages haven't kept up to the increases in cost of living. I mean, it's just like everything else really that matters. The things that really matter. I mean, not to say that doesn't matter, but it's like the things we experience, cost of goods, how much we're making, cost to live. You know what I mean? Like, got a kid like Roger who's like, dude, you can't live on your own making less than, I don't know.
100?
Yeah, which is nuts, because 100 used to be the pinnacle of like, if I could just make 100.
Yeah, not around here. I mean, rent for what, a 1-bedroom's $2,000 at least? Yeah. It's crazy.
Ridiculous.
And then groceries are nuts. Gas is crazy. Yes, it's all, something needs to happen, without a doubt. Right?
Something does need to happen.
The first lever is definitely the Federal Reserve. Question is the Federal Reserve too late? Have they waited too long? I would say they have waited too long. But economically speaking, right, most of the economists, most of the people who are a lot smarter than I am, are betting that it's going to be a quote-unquote soft landing, right? Meaning that they're able to slow things down without causing a full-blown recession.
So they don't think that we're currently in a full-blown recession?
There's a lot of indicators that suggest we've already
been in one for a while. Yeah. I thought that was the deal like 2 years ago. They just kind of like, nah.
Yeah, well.
It's weird.
You saw what the Fed said like COVID times, and the big word was transitory inflation. Right? Meaning it was temporary. It was just caused by the issues with shipping goods and things like that.
All the hang-ups in COVID.
Yeah, all the hang-ups in COVID. And then they're like, oh, never mind. It was because we injected trillions into the...
Right. But still, they're not willing to say, like, recession.
Right.
Even though isn't, like, haven't we already more than met the typical factors of what would be considered a recession 2 years in a row?
Yeah, we did in 22, I think, where it was like a couple quarters in a row.
Yeah, I remember, because I remember, like, by all accounts of what they say is or isn't the factor, however many quarters in a row, we hit that, and they're like, well...
Yeah.
But maybe that's when they were saying, like, well, yeah, but I just haven't seen anything anyhow. And that's
it's hard to know.
Yeah.
If I knew, we'd be doing this on an island.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
Great.
Figure it out, dude.
Yeah. I mean, the
You're supposed
truth
to be
is
the money
it
guy.
always comes back, right? So being invested, it's best to stay invested for the long term. That's your
Say that
best-
again. The truth is what? The market always comes back?
The market always comes back. Or if it doesn't, then it really doesn't matter.
I was going to say, if it doesn't, well, that's a great point. That's a hell of a good point. It
So-
always comes back, and if it doesn't,
Anarchy.
I was getting ready to say, Mad Max, you've all seen Mad Max. That's what it's going to be, dude.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to look at it. Either it always bounces back, or, I don't know. I hope the doomsday preppers are going to look real smart.
Yeah, and I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are like our age, right?
Probably, yeah.
Probably have a lot of time, right? So volatility in the market's your friend. Like putting money into the market when it's volatile up and down, you're going to be able to buy more of something when it's down, right? So you really want to move inverse to what everybody else is feeling.
Meaning if everybody's freaking out and pulling their money out, that's a great time to invest, right?
Yes.
For you me's out there.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I've gotten cheaper stock of, I think it was like Apple and, I don't know, the big ones, right? But that's the problem, is the ones that I went after are the ones that are like, yeah, we're really not feeling that.
Yeah. And it's also like a big deal. I talked about financial planning and like looking at the total picture, right? Like,
What you do.
which I do. So it's a big deal to look at that. And what are your goals, right? My goal might be I want to retire at 62. I want to have X amount of dollars in retirement, right? And that helps you to change your benchmark from, oh my gosh, what is going on in the world right now? Look at the economy, look at the stock market, right? To, oh, this is how close I am to reaching that goal.
That's a really good point. So if you're just finding yourselves kind of panicking watching the news, something that could help is kind of getting a plan together.
Get a plan. Figure out what your goals are and then just attack those goals.
Yeah.
Everything else is just noise.
If you're
There's a
in the,
reason there's 24-hour news cycle. Like,
Yeah.
they really like to play with us.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And it's never good. It's always, if you've never noticed, it's never good. It's always doomsday, doom and gloom. It's just, that's why I don't watch it.
What sells, yeah.
It's different, and why I've been more outspoken recently is, obviously we're coming up on an election, and it's just like, we're not going to get into politics, but just feeling firsthand what's going on and being responsible for other people, man. You know what I mean? Like you said, you feel it. It's one thing for me to be frustrated, and it's like, we're not where we're supposed to be, but it's like, when you're involving other people, that it's personal. It's more personal to me when it involves other folks than when it's just me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now I have people, young men, young women, and people with families, they're all counting on us to be strong, healthy. And we're doing, I think, all the right things. We've leaned out recently. We have a meeting tomorrow. Like, hey, what are some of the things we can do to, maybe even that's something we can talk about. You know what I mean? Like, looking at that business from a business standpoint, like, what are some smarter plays we can make? Kevin's worked in on that, but he doesn't have the knowledge of the market that you do. He's a fractional CFO, but he's more like, he's an engineer, and he's more like, he works for the government, and he moves. How can I make these numbers more friendly for us? You know what I mean? So the strategy part of it is the only thing he just doesn't. So it'd be great, actually, to talk to you more. But going off on a tangent here, if you're worried, and if that's what I wanted to talk about, really, to be honest with you, man, was things, we're all feeling it.
Yep.
It's not a secret. Everybody's feeling it. So if you are feeling it, what are some things we can do to not feel so shitty? I guess one would be get a plan.
Get a plan, focus on your goals. Just find different ways to save a little bit of cash here and there. Like, I think one of the biggest things is budgeting, honestly. Like, for
Getting a budget
and tracking it monthly, right? And there's different apps that you can use. You can use like Rocket Money. You can use YNAB. And you might come to the point where you're like, wow, I feel so tight right now because I'm spending money on some really stupid stuff every month, right? And I didn't even notice it because I was never looking at it.
Spending hundreds on food or
whatever it might
energy
be.
drinks,
Yeah,
whatever.
7-Eleven, wherever, right? We all have our thing. So that's a big thing. And then you can also look at like different ways to like, cable TV, $250 a month or whatever it is, right? Like find one of the streaming services or your cell phone, right? $200 a month or whatever it might be. Find one of the cheaper ones like Mint Mobile or something like that. So there's different ways to kind of go about it, right? As the economy and the market are kind of trying to like really work this fine line, because we do need the economy to slow down some, right? In order for it to get healthy again.
What does that mean?
So we need it to slow down so that inflation doesn't continue to tick up.
Slow down as in like we're doing too well, or like, because I really don't know. Like,
yeah. So like we were doing so well, right? And they put so much cash into the economy, right? Through different programs and loans.
So when they were pumping, so beforehand we were doing great.
Yeah. Everybody was flush, right? And then things heat up.
6 to 8 years ago?
No, sooner than
6
that.
years ago?
I mean,
COVID times,
2020, 21, and then some of the policies that have been put in place, just kind of flooding the market with cash, right? So then people
it
are
wasn't
spending.
all just because they like blew through all. I mean, but it's a lot to do with the cash they dumped in during COVID.
Yeah. So what
I'm
they're
just trying to understand it.
Yeah. So what they're trying to do is like, so everybody's spending that money, right? And things are heating up, and then inflation, things just keep costing more and more and more because people are willing to pay. Right? And if that continues, then it'll create a bubble and it'll explode and you'll have 2008, right? Where things are really, 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 really bad. So what they're trying to do is kind of walk that fine line where they're trying to make it slow down to a pretty good level, right? But not quite to the level where it's going to explode. So they're trying to slow it down so that they can open it back up. And the way they open it back up is by reducing interest rates. Right.
Which would be in September, possibly.
Which should be, September.
They've slowed it down.
16th through the 18th, I think. Oh, they've slowed it down, and they've gotten that.
I felt the slowdown.
At least on the metrics that they're. So that's one thing, is that like when they track inflation, they kind of remove a couple categories like groceries and oil, because those are very, very volatile categories, is what they say, that they can't really rely on consistently.
Two of the most important signifiers, like the main things that we judge whether or not stuff's good or bad.
Yeah.
Can I afford gas or can I afford food?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Right. So when you take those out, like inflation in a lot of these other areas has kind of returned to a level that they're comfortable with, at least year over year.
Hence why they may consider in September to do that.
Yes. And it would be really great if they did it. Everybody would appreciate it. Then you see mortgage rates starting to come down. You see all of that good stuff, right? Which, like, the mortgage industry is a beast of its own right now.
In a good way or bad way?
Well, I don't know if it's good or bad. It depends if you own a home or not and what your interest rate is, because everybody out there right now is sitting on, like, if they owned a home in 2020-ish, between 22, they are sitting on a 2.5%.
They're not going anywhere with that.
Interest rate. You're like, I'm not moving. Paying 7.5%, right? But so the reason, and then so you don't have much supply of homes, and you have a lot of buyers in the market too.
That need homes.
But they can't afford them because it's 7.5% interest rate.
Builders can't afford to build them.
Right? So you start to bring the cost of borrowing money down, and maybe people will start to take risk again, like building homes and whatnot, and make it all that available.
It would be awfully convenient. I mean, whether you don't like, whatever, but if there's anything that, one side could do to make things look a little bit more appealing right before the election would be to do that,
Yeah.
So, and again, that's neither here nor there. I mean, it'd be great one way or the other. So, like, I'm not gonna be mad at that.
Yeah, I'm guessing because of that, they'll stick to the 25 basis points that the market's expecting, so that they're not causing any undue ups and downs in the market before something like that. They try their best to not get involved. But
Really? The Federal Reserve? Because
it's supposed to be independent.
Yeah. It's privately, which is wild.
It's supposed to be. It's all wild.
It is. Our whole entire currency system backed by, people, from what I can understand, but nothing. Fiat. Right? It's literally like,
It used to be gold, yeah.
Yeah, back in the day.
Long time ago.
Didn't Trump talk about wanting to go back to the gold standard when he was in or something?
He probably did.
Who knows? He said some wild stuff too, but anyhow, all right. Well, it's hard. I really want to go. I really want to go a different direction, but I'm for your sake, dialing it in. Oh, each of these things are I've been getting. Last couple podcasts have messed me up.
Fired up.
Yeah. Well, he had me. Yeah. He had me on here last time doing a podcast that was completely opposite of what. That's why I was eager to get you in here, because I'm like, I'm going to get back to our listeners. God love you, all two of you. I've got Adam might be listening to this. He's CEO of 6-7 massive companies here in the DMV. I know he's a listener, and so and he's one of the smartest people. He started on Capitol Hill and was going to get into politics, and started selling windows.
Nice.
And now he's obviously it's worked out pretty well for him.
Yeah.
He's CEO of one of the biggest remodeling firms here in the it's national now, but as well as another commercial construction company, a finance company, an install company. Anything that has to do with it, there's a company that he's involved with that has something to do with it. So, he's a big listener. He's been on the show. But we have a lot of folks that listen to it for that aren't business owners. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's my point. That's what I'm getting at. If you're not a business owner and you're just like, dude, how do we not feel so miserable with everything going on? Roger, all my people that are here, it's tough right now, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I get a little fired up, because I have my own opinions on that, and it's impacting me a lot more than it did before. And before I was like, of course, hey, this is. But now that I own a business, this is my first time as an individual sole business owner where there's been a vote. So I think that's why I'm so it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm trying not to. But he had me on by myself talking. I think the objective was not to talk politics. We're trying to talk current events.
Current events.
The status was the most current thing was that thing with Zuck, right? Where Zuckerberg put out the letter where he was like, "Hey, by the way, everything you guys thought was happening. Here's some instances with COVID where we were covering that information up, and here's some instances with Baden campaign where the laptop and all these things are Russian disinformation. All that we were pressured by the government to say block that."
Yeah.
And so that was what got me going, because I was talking about it and then I went off into political land. So
you got fired up.
Got a little fired up, dude.
You can get fired up. That's good.
Passionate American young man,
Yeah.
And then I was just trying to make the point, regardless of whom, whatever, doesn't matter, regardless of which arm of the same bird you end up deciding, this is where I'm checking my box, just do it intelligently. That was my big thing. It was just please don't do it because it's social media or any of this pandering is successful. That, I feel, is just the most insulting, and it's just, I think it's the majority. That's the scary part.
Yes.
The majority. The majority is did you see, I'm getting ready to go. I'm going.
Uh-oh.
I'm going, dude. Did you see?
Rein him in, man.
Did you see where it was? Yeah, all right. Anyhow, I'm only doing this because I know Brendan doesn't want to talk politics. But anyhow, there was lots of examples of folks that were saying like, "Oh, I'm voting for this person," and it was like, "All right, great. What is it that that person's done?" They're like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
"I don't know, exist."
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what? Not one had, and that's terrifying to me, man. So it's just again, all of these things. But you know what, too, and Sean and I were talking about this. A good friend of mine that I've had on the podcast many times. It starts at the local level, dude. Like, so if you really want to make impact on anything, like, we need to be more cognizant of what's going on at our intimate levels of. We had, gosh, man, I'm wanting to call him. I don't think that's his. He ran for Senate. What? You don't know his name? Oh wow, yeah. Well, a gentleman ran for Senate, and he'll come to me in a second. And now he's thinking about running for like PG County treasurer. Really cool dude. And he was super cool and understanding, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he got the gist of like we had a lot of commonalities, but there was probably a good chance that like hey, I don't know, this guy may or may not vote Republican or whatever. I didn't care. Nor do I give a shit. You know what I mean? Marcellus Cruz. You know what I mean? Like, I've got a lot of, the guy was awesome. We really, we're all here together as Americans, like, in this crap together. So we better figure out a way to make this crap work.
Yeah.
Stop letting these freaking powers that be just, like, completely just, you know what I mean?
Puppet,
dude. Yeah,
puppet masters. Yeah, I mean, and the economy and the market, like, to bring us back, like I was saying, they're cyclical. So every like 8 years, the market's going to crash. And it's healthy for it to do that. Economy, every 8 years or so, every 8 to 12 years, it's going to like have a pullback. And it's healthy so that we can keep going strong.
It's supposed
That's the
to.
bottom line.
Every 8 to 12 years, it's supposed to crash or like bottom out.
If it kept going forever, like it would just be like catastrophe.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So
it's
it goes up, it's healthy, but as it goes up, there are consequences for it going up.
Yeah, and you can argue why it's gone like the way that it has, and whether the policies have like influenced it in a positive or negative light. Blah 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 blah. But this is just what happens. It's part of it.
And ultimately, I forgot where the direction went. And ultimately, we just all want to see it level out. So, but that's a great news is hopefully September we get that. That would be a great reprieve. Because what we're experiencing in our industry is the insurance companies are just like, their pocketbooks are tight. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are just, it's egregious. It was always difficult. It was always a pain in the ass, but it's turned into, just absurd. I mean, it's egregious. Like, blatant. No. Or like, we don't care. We have no. It's always been like, you can always leverage the homeowner.
Yeah.
They want to salvage the relationship with the homeowner. It doesn't seem to matter anymore. So I sincerely hope that it's just a byproduct of like, we don't have any money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How long it takes for them to pay us, all of it is just. So, there are things you can certainly do like, all right, well, we're just going to focus on selling roofing in a market that doesn't deal with insurance carriers, right? Like that's an entirely different business model, but it's what I've actually known more than the insurance restoration angle. But if that doesn't change, it's going to put a lot of people under. And frankly, most of those guys I was talking about have no business running businesses anyhow, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and you hope that just the consumer gets to a point where, like, they're flush again. Yeah. Because that's what drives all of this.
Well, not only that, man. I mean, they're not flush, and then they get hit with what? Think about it. In a market that's already rough, Houston goes and gets hit by the weather patterns. That's a whole other topic. Like the things that have been happening. You know what I mean? Like it's just crazy, dude. And
it's all nuts.
It is. It really is. Like the weather's crazier than it's ever been. The market, but like they're paying for like completely fixing Texas because Houston and like they got hit with a hurricane that just destroyed it. I was asked, like a buddy of mine was like, dude, fly out. You need to fly out. And honestly, I don't know. Had I planned better to be a true storm chaser, I would have done it in a heartbeat because we would have made. That's when you make your money, man. There's lots of guys out there. That's when your cup runneth over so much because the work is just like it's just who do I see first?
You were about to be a storm chaser.
Well, my market and what we do in insurance restoration So they call us storm
So do you have to get
chasers.
licensed in each state?
Yeah.
So that's why.
But
you can't
Texas is
just-
great because it's like
Right.
go out there and register an LLC. I could have been licensed there tomorrow, dude. It would have been fine.
Yeah.
That Texas is fine. There's like no there, but that's also why there's 7,000 plus
Freelance.
quote unquote roofers in the DFW area alone.
Okay.
Because you could go out there tomorrow and be like, I'm starting a roofing business. Here's my LLC.
Right.
All right, congratulations, you're
And
a roofer.
You have insurance just leaving Florida in general, right? A lot of people have to self-insure
In Florida.
in Florida.
Yeah, Florida is that's a whole nother bear, dude. They changed a bunch of regulations there. That was originally like that was the plan for expansion.
Yeah.
And then a lot of insurance carriers pulled out, and that flipped the markets on its head there. Florida legislation changed a lot of things as far as what you could and couldn't do, door to door, helping customers with stuff. And I heard a lot of it's changed maybe a little bit back in terms of allowing us to at least do some of the aspects of the job again. But just the same, it's so expensive to insure a home in Florida that it's almost, I hear in most cases, it is more than the mortgage.
Jesus.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
And they're proposing here in Maryland, believe it or not, I got an inside scoop to do similar things. Like coastal regions, they're just, which technically, you know what I mean? Like our east coast there. But I mean, as a state, they're just like, yeah, we're just not going to do roofs. Like some of the big ones are just like, we're just not going to do roofs. Which is wild because it's like, well, we have to have this insurance, and you're just not going to cover like the thing that you're like, yeah, you guys are kicking our ass with this, and we're just not covering it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are whole businesses now predicated around like this one. But the good news is as I said, when we first started, it was just a roofing company that just sold roofs to people that needed new roofs. I mean, roofs are never going to go anywhere. But the means, obviously, to do it and have someone else pay for it is always nicer than having them pay for it.
Yes.
Especially when it's their insurance carrier. Like, dude, I keep getting roped back in because it pisses me off. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've always sold the roofs traditionally, and it's easier. Frankly, it's easier. You know, I have to deal with that. Dude,
same
oh
reason
my
doctors don't like
God.
going through the insurance.
So much easier. Now, it's a lot. You got to get it going. It's a lot more risk to start up. You know, that's why you don't see. Even that's better, though. And, then you wouldn't have so many idiots in the market that, like, don't belong there.
Yeah.
Because there's more consequences. You have to actually know how to get a business started. You got to pay for leads, all those things, right? There's a lot more that could go wrong quickly.
Yep.
Versus just like, well, the insurance is going to pay for it. We'll figure it out. We'll get the check up front. Like, however, with that, there's a lot that can go wrong on the back end because now you've gotten going at like no cost, but now you're counting on paying your bills and you've fronted and you've gotten some credit with the distributor and your manufacturers. But if they take 2 months to pay you, well, you don't have that much credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it could be bad quick, man. And that's how it is right now. So. But it just pisses me off, man. People pay. You make people have insurance. You make them have it. You have to. If you have a mortgage, which everyone has a mortgage.
Right.
You got a mortgage. You want to own a home in the United States of America, you got to have mortgage insurance. You got to have homeowner's insurance. They make you have that, right? You never see it. It goes right into escrow. It gets paid through escrow. Just one of those things, So you don't really know. It's not like a car when you're piecing your policy together and you're like, oh, wait, do I really want this limit to liability? Like you think about it. Like if I wreck my car, do I really want to have to pay $5,000 or do I want rental or do I want this? Or you pay it monthly, you see it. With a homeowner's insurance policy, you get it once. You don't ever look at that deck page again. Really, think about it. You don't even remember you have it because it just goes every month. It's paid through, when you make your mortgage payment, it just goes through escrow and that's it. It sits there. So then when something happens, people are like, I got a lady, and I'll go off on this tangent. I just want to say this one story. This lady recently, she owns 5 properties, all this business with a big company, five life insurance policies, 5 properties, several vehicles, blah, 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 blah. But she's not like a bazillionaire. She's just, her and her husband worked hard, and they've got a couple rental properties on the East Coast. We do the roof. Now, this is a mistake on the rep. He didn't double check to make sure that he said he couldn't get in the attic, but we didn't know that there was cedar shake under the shingles. And long story short, in order to do that to code, as a licensed contractor, we're bound by doing things to the standard of code in the respective area, always.
Yeah.
So in order for us to install this roof to code, we would have to have taken these extra layers of things that we could never have possibly known were on the roof because there was no attic access. And it was a random, like, 1 in a million thing. So she's like, we're telling her, hey, don't worry about it. This is a code requirement. Insurance company's going to pay for it. They're not going to like it because it was like 20 grand in just stuff, extras. Paying the guys to remove this, paying them to remove this, paying them to remove this, and reinstalling this, and then a full new redeck. They deny it. And now it's like, well, go to your homeowner. That's what they tell us. We're like, hey, sorry, dude. Go to them. They don't have. So if you're listening to this and you look at I would suggest, number one, everybody right now, go to your homeowner's policy and take a Tom Glancy at it.
I review them as part of our financial planning, the homeowner policy. And we were going through with a guy just yesterday. And, the personal property on it was like $400,000. Like, you have $400,000 of personal property in your house? He's like, well, I got a wedding ring. Okay, so no. Right? And they just kind of add these things. And then, the part of the policy that kicks in should your entire house burn down and they're going to pay your rent for a
this
year,
endorsement,
right?
that endorsement.
Yeah, so the rent he was able to use was unlimited. I'm like, all right, so if your house burns down, you have the opportunity to rent the most expensive thing in America for 12 months. Like, I think they're not charging you for that too, right? So, like, there's little things that they just kind of kick in.
But he's paying a crazy premium.
Yeah.
And he had no idea.
Right.
And it's not like we all do this. I mean, I probably at least looked at mine because of what I do, but I couldn't tell you what it is now. And this poor lady, like, dude, she was so pissed because she's like, well, what's the deal? And they're like, well, you don't have ordinance and law coverage. That's what it's called, right? You don't have code upgrades. It's really what it breaks down to. And she's like, well, why would anyone insure me, sell me a policy that then doesn't pay for code upgrades, knowing that licensed contractors in this state have to bring things to code in order to do anything.
Yeah.
And so, like, you're basically just completely screwing me, but they don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care. They'll say, well, I don't know. Basically, is what it says is ultimately just like that. They did grandfather, I think, 10 years ago. Anybody that's had anything written since then, I think they, like, changed the law or something. They made it to where it had to be, like, you had to have ordinance and law. You have to have code upgrades, but I don't know, man. She was one of the last ones, so.
Interesting.
It's wild. It's wild. But that's just the type of stuff.
So your issue is all these scumbags going around and jacking up roofs and putting in claims, right? To the point where the insurance companies got tired of these people putting in claims for maybe where they shouldn't be.
Yeah. That's one of them. That's one of them. That's why we belong to a group called RSRA. It's the Roofing Solar Reform Alliance group, and it's literally just like, we just exist. It's like their tagline's like, to stomp out the scum. But we exist as a coalition of roofers and solar folks. They're like, these guys are just really giving us, they make our lives way harder than they already are, right? The insurance carriers don't want to pay, period. Don't get me wrong, like, they are, the irony of them calling us a scam, or like what we do is scam, and it just pisses me off further. But what is the scam is roofers that have no business being roofers. I have a guy right now, worked for me for not even, maybe 2 months. Was in solar, whole career, right? Guy's a real piece of work. Presents himself real well. I'm sure he could sell well. He's got the emotional maturity of a 10-year-old, though. So he's just like always going to fail, always going to lose, always, because he beats himself. You know what I mean? Like, if he ever hears this, he's going to know what he's talking about. And dude texted me. I forgot he existed, right? He brought a couple people over here when he was here, because he was all excited to be here. He brought some other guys on board. Not a single one, but one worked out. Not a single one, but one was worth a damn. I mean, at all. At all. I liked another one, but that's it. I liked him personally. Still wasn't worth a whole lot. And I say that with love, but I mean, like, this is a business industry with, like, numbers, and, like, the numbers don't lie, right? So they're all gone but one. And the one was phenomenal, though. So I would do it all over again because the one we got out of that, the connection I got out of that was phenomenal. However, this young man was following me, I guess, for like 6 months. And like, so these guys that were worthless start dropping off. Another one does. Text me like 5 a.m, probably drunk. And he's like, everybody's leaving your bitch ass or something like that. And I'm like, who is this? Didn't even have the dude's number saved. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I realized who it was. And I'll admit I had a rare lapse and like it pissed me off because it was 5 a.m. and I'm like, just what a loser, dude. Like, you really think about me that much that you're obviously following me on social media or this other person and really thinking like, it's just like, that's just bizarre to me. So I don't know. I say all that to just really point out that that guy is the guy who's out there selling you on how he's this roof expert with 2 months of being in the roofing industry. That's the guy that's the problem. That's the guy that's tearing up the roof. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would wager he probably is. I could totally see him doing that. My old partner, I could totally see him doing that. You know, there's a lot of stuff they kept. You know, I just know his personality. You know what I mean? I know how he is. He would see that as like, oh, I could do this, fake this, and then do this. We vehemently just, our goals. So as a byproduct of we're trying to build scale and create something that's sellable, whether we ever do or not, we are going to. But like, you don't have anything that's sellable or worth anything if it's predicated on like doing that. Yeah. Anything fraudulent, like you got nothing, dude. You got a hustle that's just, you might as well just go sell drugs. True. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, seriously, dude. Like that's
a nice drug dealer though.
Ready to right. A little bit more white collar, but still, man. Like, yep. Just Delivery. Saying, like, right? Like, and then they think they're helping people. I'm like, you're tearing up their roof for you to get money, right? And you're getting them a new roof, but they didn't need a new roof. Yeah. We need to find people that need a new roof, and we're gonna help those people. And those people are now screwed more because you tore up a bunch of people's roofs that didn't need new roofs, and they know it, but they just couldn't prove it. Yep. And maybe they've proved it here and there, but they know they've missed it 9 times out of 10, and it's just costing. So now Mrs. Jones, who's got her totally torched roof, the ones that we're messing with, and they're coming back and saying, "Nah, wear and tear. Nah, we don't see it." Dude, I had one recently, just a couple days ago. Roof was torched on the back, front a few. Guy comes out. This is a smaller company called Windsor over in Eastern Shore. Not a big fan. I mean, they've been behaving very poorly. Seriously, man. I mean, like,
need a timeout.
They've been misbehaving. Understood. So like, and they're coming at us, a little. And I get it, man. They probably figure who knows. I just only ever assume what they probably think. They don't know the efforts we've put in to like not be even remotely close to that. And they send and so we know this guy who owns this property. Big name on the Eastern Shore, big real estate guy. This is one of his properties. They send him an email after we just politely, our job is to say, hey, this is the damage. We do initial inspection, we time, date, stamp, all that. I mean, my wife is very thorough. Record. Everything's got to be recorded. Like, if we do something. Yep. Then they send out their inspector. Their inspector says, all right, I know you did your initial inspection. I don't give a shit. I don't even pay attention to it. I don't care what you said. I'm going to look at it and make my own assertions. And they say, yeah, front, we'll buy. Here's $8,000. We come back and say, hold up, brother. Thank you, but no thank you. Like, this whole house needs to be done. The back is worse than the front. And we send them what we call a supplement saying so. Mind you, with the same photos and same documents that we took from our initial report. They reply, and this is probably Johnny Nobody. I think his name is Billy or Buddy. I don't know. Guy's sitting in an office just like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like a little bit of power, I guess, to tell us to pound sand and just assumes we'll go run for the hills. This guy sends our homeowner and our team that we use, a partnership group that helps us, move these papers and send all the information to the insurance carrier. Says, hey, nope, basically that's all nonsense, and we're going to report you. We think it's fraudulent. We're going to report you for fraud. So not only like are we telling you no, but we're going to report you for fraud to the commission or whatever. Mm-hmm. We're like, which is no elaboration, right? Of course. So of course, and we have general counsel, and they definitely didn't bet on that. Yeah. So like, let's just say it's already being worked up. Our response is being worked up, as we say. But they don't expect that. They expect us to be some podunk, rinky-dink guy, probably like what I was just talking about. That's like, oh my God. They're literally betting on the fact that and there is probably, sadly, a 50-50, 60-40 chance that that's how bad it is. That we are one of those guys. They're like, oh my God. And they just run for the hills.
Well, maybe that's a good sign that they're actually coming after people, right?
Yeah.
Like you're
on
the right side of it. You're on the truthful side of it.
That's true.
You're trying to help people.
That's one way to look at it.
I think anytime you lead with trying to help people, you're going to be successful.
Yes, they are definitely, but it's just the blatant, like, coming at us like that, like.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, it's not just us. It's just like the industry. They're just assuming like we think it's this. No merit, no basis, no real anything, no thought in your email because it's like, dude, if you have an attorney that works with you, they probably tell you like, be careful saying these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, because now ours is going to respond like, oh, really? Would you care to elaborate on that? Because here's the things that we sent you, and that's a very heavy, but.
Well, I think the dirtier the industry, like the better off you really might be as you're doing the right thing, right? You're going to stick out more when you do the right thing.
Yeah.
And like there's plenty of like not great financial advisors, right? And people who kind of meet that minimum threshold who are really just selling insurance, but they're telling you they're doing this, that, or the third, or they're really just trying to sell you a product and not really a
the whole life guys or whatever.
It depends. Like there's good ones and there's bad ones, right? There's bad eggs everywhere. But the people who do the wrong thing are sometimes like they do the selling for me, right? Like I just met with a couple who was just paying like 2.5 times kind of the industry average, right? Each year on like a pretty good sized portfolio. It's like, okay, this is wrong. Like here, I'll charge you what is fair, and you go from there, right? And so as you have people in your industry kind of doing the wrong thing, and it's hard to like maneuver through it because a lot of times I'm being met with people who are like skeptical about financial advisors and things because they've had a bad experience, right? But if I could just be genuine and just be there to try to help, like usually good things are going to happen, right? Which I think is what you're doing, right?
Oh yeah, for
As
sure.
a company, without a doubt.
I guess that's what I was really getting at. Yeah, that's all my. That was what I just went on like a 20-minute tangent, but yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Was like we could probably just sell retail, and but it's not as fulfilling.
Yeah,
because it's definitely feels good to tell Mr. $1 billion a year industry that's they could say what they want about like the other side of it and it wouldn't change their behaviors. It would in some ways, but it wouldn't change the fact that they're always going to err on the bottom line.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I get that. You have a great point. There's definitely guys doing that. I get that. But you're still going to be the company that's going to take the slap on the wrist versus paying what you should pay because the slap on the wrist is inconsequential compared to the profit that you're going to make by not paying for folks' claims.
Don't give up, dude. You got to fight the fight.
We're fighting the good fight, dude. We're fighting.
You have to.
We're Robin Hooding out in this mofo, dude.
That's important.
Got to, man. We got to. Someone's got to do it.
Someone has to do it.
We all have our cross to bear, so that's what we're doing over here.
Brother.
And you got to do the same thing in the financial industry.
I'm doing my best.
You know, a couple sober guys that used to be nothing but takers. Here we are trying to give back.
That's true.
And I say that I'm jokingly, but I mean that. I mean, like, that's the irony I think here is that given where we've been and what we were, and I was not. I don't know about you, but I was certainly not a stand-up anything. I was a taker on the epic proportions.
Dependability wasn't my strong suit at the time. Yeah.
But now, because of that, we find ourselves not only bound, but like completely relying on this code of ethics, these principles that like are life and death for us. So to do something like that, like what I think that might be why it pisses me off so much, is because it's like we can't do that. Like that, if I was doing that, brother, I would be
sick. I'm gonna get very sick.
I'm gonna get very, very sick,
emotionally, spiritually, very quickly, right? And it might lead to me, drinking alcohol or something like that. So you're right, I can't do that.
And things are gonna get way
so maybe there's a
worse
little bit
that.
there's a little something there where other people can, right?
Yeah, 100%. Where it's like I know what you're used to, but like we work so hard to not do those things because it's life and death for us, man. Even little lies and stuff, stupid little things that seem so dumb. Like, we have to catch, like, man, that wasn't exactly honest, was it?
You got to go back and fix it.
Yeah, 100%, man.
But that shines through.
I agree, 100%, man. You're right. It makes you stand out.
Which is a shame. Should be that way for everyone.
Yeah, it should be, but
We're
we
not
always
perfect.
say
We just try our best.
everyone in every business could use a 12-step program, man. I really believe that. Even if you don't have any issues, it's just living that way. It just makes you look within. It makes you, I don't know, man. It saved my ass, it saved Brennan's ass, but also it just makes you so much of a better person. And I'm saying that I am far from freaking perfect, dude. I mean, I'm telling you that right now. I need all of it I can get.
Yeah.
But thank God for that, man. So, what do you think, man? Do you think they're going to do that in September? We're going to wrap up here in a second, but I want to make sure that our audience
they better bring them down by 25 basis points at least.
You think they are going to? If you're a betting man,
yes. If they don't,
I say that because
we got big issues.
Okay. Oh, God.
Big issues. Then bring me back on. I'll get fired up.
I was going to say, if they don't, we're going to bring Brendan back
right
on.
Now.
Because I was at a birthday party this past weekend, and the guy I was talking to is one of pretty sure he might be autistic, and that matters not. He's just very smart.
Yeah.
Very, one of those ones where you're talking to and you start saying something, and he said, well, I don't think they're going to do that in September. I just don't see them. I was like, oh, God. Why do you?
Could be, man.
You know what I mean? I got locked up. We were talking about a bunch of stuff, and when he said that, I was like, wait. Why don't you, of all people, think that? Because you're a smart fellow.
Yeah.
What do you know? And he works in government security and stuff. And I was like, oh, God.
You might know something.
Exactly.
I mean, the market's pricing it in.
What do you know, pal?
So in order to just kind of maintain, they need to bring it down by 25.
Well, I tell you what.
I think they're already late to it, but it is what it is.
Well, that would be great for everybody, like you said. If we don't, we'll get a more entertaining episode out of it anyhow. So, although I thank you for the time coming out here. I know being brand new, getting your business going, taking time to come out here in person. I appreciate that. All the free value and just all the tidbits and pouring into the listeners, man. I appreciate that for sure. I'll have to have you back on really just to anything you guys can think of that you might want to know. Just put it in the comments and Brendan can peruse those, but also where can they find you? Are you on social media?
I'm not on social media.
Awesome.
I try to be invisible. I'm on LinkedIn. So Brendan.
There you go. There you go. That's social media.
TrueNorthWealthSolutions.com.
There you go. That's what I meant.
I do a monthly estate planning seminar at local libraries with the help of a estate planning attorney that we both know. Just trying to get out there and help the community and talk about tax saving strategies, estate planning. It might be for more senior folks, but some helpful tidbits in there. So reach out to me, let me know. Happy to help any way I can.
You got a good turnout there?
Yeah, 30-plus people just about every time and leading to good results. And
where do you guys promote that?
Facebook.
Yeah, okay.
I use a marketing company called White Glove that goes through Facebook, and people sign up, and I choose how many people I kind of want to be there. And the reason I did it was I figured, all right, no matter who might work with me, at least I'm going to give some knowledge to all these people. They're going to walk out a little.
No, I think that's super
better.
Cool, man. That's why I'm asking about it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to try to earn, some business, but it's a really cool way to do it. And that, hey, whatever, man. If they work out, it does. And if it doesn't, I enlighten some people.
Yeah, it's cool.
Very cool. All right, so did you say the name of your company? Not the name, but the website again one more time?
TrueNorthWealthSolutions.com.
TrueNorthWealthSolutions.com.
Take you all night to type that in.
That's his domain too, but which is funny because when you said that, I didn't say anything back, but I was laughing because ours is PotomacCustomerModeling.com.
There you go.
And we just changed it to PCRRoofing.com.
Okay.
Because we got so tired of typing in PotomacCustomerModeling.com and is there two C's here? Is there not? So
I was debating the long one or the one with a hyphen in it, where I have to on the phone be hyphen dash.
You want to know the solution, man? Alias email.
Alias email.
Mm-hmm. You created a second. That's what so PCR roofing goes automatically to PotomacCustomerModeling.com.
Okay.
So there's you don't have to delete that one. You can just make a TrueNorth.com or something and then have it go right to your main email. So
Nice.
there's your solution. You don't
There
got
you
to
go.
get rid of it. See, there's a reason you came down here today.
Genius. Yeah.
All right,
next-
guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for giving us your time and entertaining us, having a good time, because that's what I feel like it really was. But thank you for coming on, my friend, and we'll get you on here soon. Let's hope that he's correct about September. Check out his website. If you guys need any help, you guys want to have any consultations, anything financial, I can personally vouch for Brendan. In all seriousness, he's a great person, a good friend of mine, somebody who's trustworthy, which is saying a lot these days. So if you want to talk to him about financial investing, there's your guy. Thanks, guys. We love you. We'll see you next time.